What's up, everybody? It is the What We're Watching podcast, a podcast to keep your eye on. I'm Reese Potter,
And I'm Ava Potter.
and we are your hosts for today's episode 7, which is going to be a lovely, lovely episode for you guys. We have some good breakdowns. We have a good throwback to talk about, throwback to last year. And we have something new for award season to discuss. So let's get straight into it. It is what we're watching late at night. This is what it's going to be like from here on out, I think. So without further ado, Ava, do you want to take it away with our little throwback to 2025?
Yeah, so I actually recently just watched The Substance. I had never watched it before and I was like, heard it's good. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll like actually sit down and watch it. It's about Demi Moore's character. She is a celebrity, but like as you get older, like you're not as, like you're not as amazing as you once was. Like she was like she's not as amazing as a celebrity as she is anymore. She's not as beautiful anymore because she's getting older.
She's not as
So then
valuable.
yes. So like the company's kind of threatening to, find a replacement for her.
Which is
And
Dennis Quaid.
yeah.
We don't with Dennis Quaid.
Basically, so then she like gets into this car accident in the middle of the movie, and one of the doctors, like before she leaves, like is like, oh, we have to do one last checkup, and like says that, oh, you'd be a really good candidate for this, and she's like, like what do you mean? That's like a little sus if you ask me. So then he hands her like this thing, and it's called The Substance, and it's basically like a thing that she can like plug into like a TV to like tell her like what the substance is. Um and basically it's like a drug that like separates the cells inside her to create like a new person, but like that's like a younger version, better version of herself. Um
Right,
but
like
like
literal
they always
mitosis.
like literally, but like they always like reinforce the fact that they are one, like that they are one person. So basically, Demi Moore gets like split open and like a whole new person comes out of her.
Which is Margaret Qualley. Queen, we love her.
Yes, she did such a good job.
Yeah, honestly, it's very interesting. It's like, if you take the substance, you become the newer, better version of yourself. But yeah, like Ava said, they really reinforce like you are one. Like it's a really important like theme throughout the movie that like you can't have one without the other. You have to have each other, to be separate entities. You have to stay together because every single night they like it's like every week or so I think that they switch
Mhm.
back and forth. So basically like the new version of her, Margaret Qualley's character gets a week and then Demi Moore's character has to have a week. So it's this whole battle of, her wanting more, wanting to be beautiful and like hating the fact that she has to go back. And so she
But she keeps
becomes like
referring, but she keeps referring to Margaret Qualley's character as she, not as herself, but internally it's actually her as that other being.
right, right, right. She can't like conceptualize the fact that it's herself because she starts to see the Margaret Qualley's character as her competition
Mhm.
because they're both technically working for the same company now. This like it's like a dance 80s inspired
Fitness
fitness
kind of, yeah,
video. And
like
so of
hip hop
course,
abs.
right, right, like Sean T. But of course, Margaret Qualley's character is this like hot new thing. She's got the sexy body, like she's
Mhm.
it, she's the
And
it
she's
girl.
young. That's the
Right.
main thing is she's young.
And then you have Demi Moore's character, and they're like, well, she's old, and like, we don't want her anymore. We're about to kick her out. And so
Mhm.
they're the same person, but Demi Moore's character cannot conceptualize that. And so she starts
Mhm.
to see her as a competition. So she begins to like resent this other form of herself.
Basically, like what I was thinking throughout the whole movie is I think they did a really good job, like shot wise. I think everything was like very beautifully shot. And they did a I really liked the difference between when you knew she was Demi Moore and you knew when she was like Margaret Qualley, even if they like weren't doing the outside perspective where you can actually see them physically, like like the internal shots where it was
Mm-hmm.
like after they had swapped for the first time and it was Margaret Qualley's character and she could like turn and look and then there was Demi Moore's character, or just by the way that they like presented themselves. I think they did a really good job with that, and like you could just tell the difference between those different shots that they had for those scenes as well.
And I
um
felt like, sorry to interrupt, I felt like some of the like really up close cut shots are very reminiscent to what we were talking about a couple weeks ago with the Send Health, and how it like
yes.
fuels that like gross body horror is these like really
Hmm.
stylistic up close shots of the mouths and the eyes and the hands, and
Yes.
it kind of just like makes you feel icky, which is why I like
Hmm.
love body horror so much.
Which I wouldn't say I'm like a squeamish person, but this movie like made me like ugh, like turn away like ugh, just because they did such a good job of like capturing that like odd body horror, which I think is great. I will say the once it gets to a certain point in the movie, it did fall flat for me. The ending
The
is just
ending
absolutely
sucks. Yeah.
terrible. Absolutely terrible. I think they did a really bad job of finishing it off. Um,
It felt
I
rushed.
think
Like it felt
they
like we had such a
yes.
good build up, such a good back and forth. Like you could feel the anticipation because you kind of began to knew like new hold on. You kind of began to know what was coming with, okay, spoilers ahead, with what Demi Moore's character does is she, or she basically becomes nothing because Margaret Qualley's character like sucks her dry essentially and wants to stay as her character, like her person, and doesn't want to have to go back
Mhm.
all the time. And so they end up like morphing together to create this like monster of the two, where it's like both of their characters become one, and then they end up just being this like gross blob.
Which, in my opinion, defeats the whole purpose of them being one in the main premise, like them always reaffirming the fact that they're one. I feel like because they have the two different faces morph together, like in the monster, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just, it just, I, like you said, I feel like it was very rushed. And then I feel like the buildup of it, like right before they completely like morph together, like they could have done something so much better right there, where spoiler alert, when then they are both alive at the same time, they could have done something so much more with that there. I feel like it could have gone in a completely different direction.
Yeah. I do. I will say I watched it post award season, and so I was really happy that it got so much recognition. Just as like a horror fan, like horror is always extremely overlooked when it comes to award seasons because it's just seen, I think, is kind of shallow a lot of the times. Um so I'm really grateful that this got really good recognition, and I understand why. Like Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore put on performances of a lifetime. Visually, it was insane. Like I think that there were a lot of moments that I could see like big panned out pictures, up close shots, just a huge variety of different camera, lenses and different
Mhm.
looks that I understand why. So I think that that's why I was like really let down by the ending, is because I
Mhm.
felt like it was super hyped up, which kept me entertained throughout the entire movie until that like last 30 minutes. I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And it just was like, what the fuck?
Mhm. It was just frustrating because like I was expecting something crazy because I heard the movie was so awesome, and then I feel like it just fell flat. It did remind me of the ending of Him, which does kind of stink, but I think Him did a better job with their ending than this movie did.
Right. I think it's like you go, to me, there's a difference between like body horror and then like unnecessarily cheesy gore.
Yes.
Like blood splattering and shooting and guts, and like that
The
to me is like,
spewing was
that's
stupid.
unnecessary. I think
Yes.
if you want like a good body horror movie from like the last few years, Together to me is like up there. Like I
Mm-hmm.
loved Together, Allison Brie and Dave Franco. It came out last year. So if you want something that's going to be a good body horror, check out that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, it takes away from the realism of it because you're just like, bro, this is getting ridiculous. Like it's becoming cheesy. Yeah.
That's where I feel like people discredit the movie too, is like probably based on the ending there, and don't you could almost mark it as a horror comedy then
Right.
because of the ending, which
Right.
it's not at
When it
all.
becomes like comically like gory, that's when
Mm-hmm.
it like falls flat every single time. And to me, that last 30 minutes is how the Academy and critics and the film industry sees horror as this like joke of a like disgusting, gory, like tries to be scary but ends up just being funny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why horror never does very well in the award season. It's like we have this
Mm-hmm.
beautiful lead up the entire time of this like anxiety, anxious, like gross, you know, build up of these characters, this back and forth, this like desire and need for more. And then at the end, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, that's really what
Yeah.
you chose to do for the end. You've put
Yeah.
in so much effort to creating such like something that's saying something to have this like
Mm-hmm.
shallow, boring ending.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't
I only gave it a 3.5 at the end of the day, because the ending really is what made me, bring it down a little bit. But overall, I still thought it was a very good movie until those last 30 minutes, honestly.
Yeah, I think I gave it a 4. I think that I just felt like the ending at some point kind of in like that third quarter of the film, I felt like it started to drag on just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but overall, it's still a great movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that like chunk of it that I felt like really fell flat. But yeah, I still gave it a 4 stars just because I I can see why it was, critically
It was still
acclaimed.
shot beautifully. It was done beautifully. Yeah,
Acting was amazing.
it was
Literally
great.
so good.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay, so pivot here. Next, we both wanted to talk about, we talked about this last week, that we were going to talk about it today, is Wuthering Heights. So I saw it 2 weeks ago, right before Valentine's Day.
I think I saw it last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was after we podcasted last week. So,
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
um, it, I wanted to preface before we both kind of get into our reviews of it. This is a disclaimer. We have not read the book. So our judgments in our conversations are about it as a film like standalone, not necessarily as a book adaptation. Like we fully
Mm-hmm.
understand the damage one that the whitewashing of Heathcliff has, and also calling Wuthering Heights the original story is not necessarily a like black and white love story
Mm-hmm.
like this is portrayed to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you are wanting more insight into why people don't like it as a book adaptation or the main differences between the film and the book, go check out some YouTube videos and some podcasts because I know there's plenty of people out there who are a lot more knowledgeable about the actual book than we are because we both have not read it. I can only tell you what I have learned from also doing research about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel like I am the person to get your information from because, like I said, I have not read it. Ava has not read it.
Mm-hmm.
So, disclaimer there before we get into it.
Yeah, basically solely on the movie here, and I went in completely blind. I had no idea what this was about.
Same here.
Yeah, I had only ever heard of Wuthering Heights through this is so sad, the After series, which is so bad to
Me
say.
too. The only
But
thing we both knew from it was the iconic line, whatever our souls
whatever
are
our
made
souls are
of,
made of
his and mine are the
is
same.
mine are the same.
Because if you are an Anna Todd stan, like we
Were. Emphasis on were.
were, like we were, give it, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago,
Probably for, yeah, long
we,
time ago.
I mean, After was like our lifeline. Like if Ava and I were together, we were rewatching the After
Watching.
movies.
Yeah.
We were reading the After series to each other, laying
Literally.
in bed and reading it to each other.
Mhm.
So we can maybe have that for a whole episode in and of itself.
Wait,
That would be a good episode
we
for
talk
us.
about like, or we can talk about like iconic books that we read when we
Right.
probably shouldn't have.
Sure. Anyway, back to Wuthering Heights. Yes. So both of us only had the most extremely limited knowledge of, like, I knew that Heathcliff and Catherine were the main characters too. So
Yeah, same. I don't even know her name is Catherine. I just knew his name was Heathcliff.
right.
Not gonna lie. So
So take everything that we say about the actual story with a grain of salt.
mhm.
Okay? Because we're just
We probably mostly are going to talk about like the cinematography behind it,
right.
how Margot Robbie and Jacob act, are probably the two main points I will talk about. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk a little bit about like the style, the shots, things like that. And then just go over some things that were like a little problematic for me.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, I don't know
for sure.
how it was for you, Ava, but I felt like it started out really great. Them as kids, seeing their dynamic, the story building, the chemistry. I say that lightly because I'm talking about children, but like their relationship, seeing that become and blossom, I really enjoyed seeing. I really liked um the beginning of it all and that build up and the growth of, like, to get to essentially when Catherine goes over to Edgar's and like breaks her ankle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
From then until probably the very end, I felt like I was a little I was enjoying it, but I was a little, I don't know the right word. Um Hold on, I gotta think of what I want to say. I felt very conflicted because it felt like there was something missing. And I think that, you know, you're like, if she wants to be with him so badly, why is she not just with him? And so I think that in the book is where a lot of like the the race thing, like it's said pretty well explicitly in the book that Heathcliff is not white. It doesn't necessarily come out and say what race he is, but it says that he's not white. And so I think that like the race inadvertently plays into the classism that is seen in this film, in the book. Um, but I think without that filter of race in the movie, you're kind of just like, okay, he like, sorry, spoilers
Mm-hmm.
ahead if you haven't seen it. Like he becomes wealthy, and so like why
It's
can't they
like
be
why?
together
Like
now?
why can't you?
Right,
Yeah.
right. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So and then the ending, of course, I'm a romantic and I'm a crier, and so like I was done for at the end of that. I was unwell.
I was a little teary eyed, but not a whole lot like you.
Right. I was sobbing.
Mhm. I feel like for me, yeah, I kind of felt that same too because I mean, I obviously knew from my own research what was kind of missing through that. Um, the like how they don't, you know, play that into a part into the movie of Heathcliff's race. Um, so yeah, I also felt like there was something underlying that was like, okay, yeah, that happened, but there's nothing stopping you now,
Right.
like especially once he like spoiler alert, when he comes back, it's like, yes, you're about to get married. That's like that whole part that happens there. She's about to get married, and then doesn't, like, she does go get married, but she could have said no like at the last second. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that it's also I think that what I noticed a lot is that the chemistry was really there between Margot and Jacob, but I felt like it lacked like a spark. They had a lot of romantic chemistry, but then when it came to any of the like erotic scenes, the spicy stuff, I felt like it was a little lackluster. Not that they weren't like,
Like, oh
oh,
my god.
oh, what are you doing? Like, not that they weren't crazy and spicy, but I think that that there was like something missing. And a lot of people that I've seen talk about how like there isn't that level of romanticism and that erotic side to the book. Like that's just what
Hmm.
Emerald Fennell just conjured up herself. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like to get it to where people would want to go watch the movie, they had to give some sort of element like that, especially with
right.
these two well-known actors, I
In
feel
the
like.
wise words of Hudson Williams and Connor's story, sex sells.
True.
True.
Um, for me, what I did really like about the movie, because we kind of talked about a couple negative things that we didn't like. What I really loved about the movie was the contrast between every scene with the red and the white. Um, white is traditionally like centered around like purity and like, like saving yourself and, that kind of
Hope, even
message,
hope.
hope.
Yeah.
Yes. And Catherine is seen wearing white all the time, but then having those small elements of red like flown throughout her dress, or even just in the scene too, like in the set design was beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, with the coloring scheme like that. And red is always seen as a um, color of desire and
Right.
like
Lust and
lust, yeah, not as pure, kind of like that. So it's like that's what I really liked about it, is how they chose to use those two colors and the contrast between the two. Because I mean, I sat there the whole movie being like, oh my
red,
gosh,
red.
the
Yeah,
red.
in every scene, like Emerald is working hard to put like that red in any moment that she can. I said that I loved how it was very much a muted palette everywhere else. That
Hmm.
that it, the fog and the rain and like the fog almost made it dreamlike, this like
Hmm.
ethereal imagery. Then you have the stark red in every scene that is kind of breaking it up and giving it the like how white is hope, but red shows that like there's this impending, you know,
Hmm.
thing that's coming, that they're trying
Yes.
to ignore. It's always there. The red is always there. It's kind of the energy that it gave me is this like stark contrast of like what what's to come, the desire and the anger and the change and stuff like that.
Hmm. I feel like the more I watched the movie, I feel like in scenes where Catherine was by herself, there was more red. But then in scenes where she was with Jacob, I feel like it was more white. I don't know. I feel like some of those scenes had a little bit more elements of red when she was by herself, because she was sitting with the anger, the lust, the desire. But then when she was in these scenes, she had that hope. So she's in that white, if that makes sense. I feel like
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I maybe saw a little bit more.
I like
But
that
that was
interpretation.
something that held with me through like the whole movie. I was always thinking back to the red and white and like the contrast between the two, and like how, that all coincides with like truly like what most love stories have, the
Yeah.
juxtaposition between the lust and between purity.
Right. And I just in general love Emerald Fennell. Now I know that like her choices in the adaptation have kind of made her a little bit controversial. So I'll just get into her like as a director, separating the art from the artist, as Avon I like to say a lot,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But I like Saltburn is one of my favorite movies. And I think that these two are like her biggest ones that she's done. Um and I think that the reason that her style is so intriguing is because it's almost photogenic. Like the way that she places the shots is very intentional. She finds a way to really play with light a lot and with nature. And by nature, I mean, like the rain and the fog and placing sun in specific spots. That is really prevalent in Saltburn, is like the way she uses light and
Mm-hmm.
nature and stuff. And so I could see that internally a lot with this film too. And that's what I really loved. And then I think, on top of that, you have the amazing set design, like you said, the hair and the makeup, the wardrobe. I've seen some people have some discourse about how some of the wardrobe pieces weren't necessarily like super time specific, but
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, I just kept being like in awe of the hair and the
Mm-hmm.
makeup. The one that sticks out to me so much was the like beaded freckles that Margot had at
Yes.
one point was gorgeous. Her hair in every scene was just like she was eating down. I liked every single dress that she wore. I think that the funeral outfits were so beautiful. The veil was gorgeous. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I really liked everything visually. I felt like it was stunning when it came
Mm-hmm.
to all of that.
I feel like also with her directing, which you can tell with Saltburn too, I feel like it leaves a lot of openness too to
Mhm.
how you want to interpret
Yeah.
things. Like I feel like the ending of Saltburn kind of leaves it up to whoever watched the movie, like how you want to interpret that ending. Same with I feel like Wuthering Heights a little bit. Um, Especially after everything that happens there. Like obviously tragedy happens, but like it's also like embedded into like why she,
Chose to do that.
chose to do
Yeah.
that, um, so yeah, I think which I've only seen these two movies by her. I haven't seen anything else. I feel like those two kind of do leave it up to like the viewer of the movie too. Which I think is interesting directing wise too, because I feel like most directors kind of try to have some sort of, like set kind of vision for an ending.
Yeah, and I agree. I like when a movie kind of lets you discover and interpret things. I think that like Yorgos Lanthimos and like Luca Guadagnino both
Mhm.
do really good jobs of doing that too.
Mhm.
I think specifically like Queer is a Luca film. That one to me really sticks out too. Same with like I agree all of Emerald's. Yeah, I think that throughout all of this we can both definitely say though that is this film is very much style over substance, I
Mhm.
think.
I could agree.
Um,
Mhm.
I think that she put a lot of effort into conjuring up what the idea of what she read in her head when she read the story, putting that on paper and that for everybody to see, rather than staying true to the origins of like what the story actually means and what it is actually telling. I mean, I
Mhm.
think back to like maybe specifically like the one that comes to mind is like Divergent was a book that I felt the adaptation felt really like short compared to the story, especially since there's an entire second half of the third book that they just never decided to make into a movie with a really important scene in it. But I think that when I visualized a lot of that in my head, that wasn't necessarily what I pictured for them. And what I pictured for the things, which I think I mean, anytime you read a story that doesn't have a film adaptation or a TV adaptation and then does, I think everybody can say that there are things that they viewed extremely differently. I mean, you take It Ends With Us, for example. There were
Mhm.
so many elements in that that people were like, that's not at all how I envisioned that to be.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
elephant in the room, Blake freaking Lively. Right.
Yeah.
So, sorry, trigger warning, Blake Lively.
Beep.
Anyway, so I think that I understand why she chose to do a lot of what she did. To me, it's like, just don't call it Wuthering Heights then. I get the whole quotation marks is like the point of it,
Yes.
but you know, Taming of the Shrew and 10 Things I Hate About You are, 10 Things I Hate About You is an adaptation of Taming of the Shrew, but they call it 10 Things I Hate About You, not Taming of the Shrew, because there are those differences, you know? There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things that are like that where they're based off of something, but you're not just going to blatantly call it that. I think it's one thing to put it in the credits, like how the Oh Brother Where Art Thou credits the Odyssey, because it's like a loose adaptation of the Odyssey. So it credits Homer in the end credits of the film, but it's not going to come out and say like it's a direct adaptation. So I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of people are like, you have the right idea there, but because you chose to change so much and remove some elements, that's why people are so angry, especially when you take something like Wuthering Heights, which is such a beloved book. It's a classic for a reason. You can't just like
Mm-hmm.
loosely adapt a classic like that and call
Mm-hmm.
it what it is.
Mm-hmm. That's what, like, marketed as a completely different title. This movie could have done 10 times better, in my
Right.
opinion. And they could have created a whole like new type of movie for this. Like, that's why I'm worried for the Lord of the Flies adaptation to come out. I'm worried that they're gonna, over Hollywood it and it
Right.
not be,
It's really hard
a
when
good
you're
adaptation of
going
the
to
book.
do a classic, because
Mm-hmm.
people have their own expectations and their own interpretations on something that's so beloved and
Mm-hmm.
widely analyzed too.
Yes, yes, especially when it's a literary element like these types of,
Right. Right.
books. Mm.
Last few things I feel like I need to say is I I didn't love, I mean I did, but I didn't love like the whole Heathcliff Isabella thing. Like, I mean, like, girl, I would do it too. Like, you would do it too for a check. Like, if he said bark, I would bark. But also, like, in the point of the story, like, it just felt
Weird and
interesting.
wrong.
Yeah. Also, the ending with Kathy literally, like, not taking care of herself and, like, essentially killing her baby because of her,
Spoiler
like,
alert.
sorry, spoiler alert, her, like, whining and over the fact that Isabella has Heathcliff and she doesn't. I'm like, girl, get up.
Go get your man. Like,
Girl, get up. Like, you are a bad bitch, okay? You married this wealthy man. Like, you are wanted. You have two men pining over you, and you're over here killing yourself because you did this. You did this, babe.
and who set that system up?
You cannot have your cake and eat it too. You tried to have this like desire and romance, but also wealth and class. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you cannot have both, babe. You chose this. You chose to dig this hole. Now you're gonna have to sit in it. So,
Period.
all in all, I I enjoyed Wuthering Heights. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I I think that I really loved the visuals. As a romance, aside from the book adaptation, I think it would have been much more enjoyable.
Yes, agree. I feel like it should have a different name. It should not be as described as Withering Heights.
Right. Even if it's Wuthering Heights, it still shouldn't be Wuthering Heights.
Withering Heights.
Period. Okay. Last but not least, since on here we always discuss award season, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get into our lovely little BAFTAs, which happened this past Sunday. So, BAFTAs are the British awards. So, essentially, think like the British Oscars. So we're in number 3 of the 5 main award shows for movies. So we've had the Golden Globes, the Critics' Choice, and now the BAFTAs. So I'll do a quick little run over since we've talked about the other ones. I only feel like it's fitting that we talk about this one just so I can keep everybody in the loop of what's happening in the lead up to our glorious March 15th, the Oscars. So, again, lovely, lovely, amazing day for One Battle After Another. It won
Mm-hmm.
6 BAFTAs, which included Best Film, Director, Adapted Screenplay for Paul Thomas Anderson, Cinematography, Supporting Actor, and Editing. So those were the six that BAFTAs. Sinners took 3 BAFTAs. So Sinners won original screenplay. Wumi Musaku won supporting actress, which I'm so happy
Yes.
that she did. She's so deserving. Go listen to her acceptance speech. It had me in tears, and it had Ryan Coogler in tears. He was crying, which made me cry even more. And then it
Mhm.
also won original score. Frankenstein won 3, the same 3 categories that it is literally sweeping in, which is costume design, makeup and hair, and production design. Which, like, I'm very happy that that one's taking the cake for that because it is
Mhm.
gorgeous.
Still need to
And
watch it.
you do. Hamnet won Outstanding British Film, which is one specifically for the BAFTAs. And then Jessie Buckley, again, Miss Girl is sweeping with Best Actress. Jessie Buckley, I love you. I think that you are the greatest human to walk this earth. I'm so excited to see you in Bride. Um, there was a film that was in this realm or this awards show that has not been in the others, and that one's called I Swear. It is a British film that is a biography about um, a man with Tourette's. And so that one won Best Leading Actor. Robert Aramayo, I think is how you pronounce his last name. He won for leading actor, which of course he has not won the other ones because this is specifically a British film. And then they also won for casting. Sentimental Value won foreign film, and then a couple others was F1, of course, won sound. I think that one's pretty well sweeping in sound. And then actually the surprise to me was that Zootopia 2, or Zootropolis as it is in Europe, Zootropolis 2 won for animated film. So,
So that may be like a little surprise twist at the Oscars.
right, right.
I'll be surprised.
Zootropolis.
Zootropolis.
So if you're keeping track, we have Jessie Buckley. She has won the Golden Globe for leading actress in a drama, leading actress in a critic in the for Critics' Choice, and then leading actress for the BAFTAs. And then we have the supporting actress has switched for all 3 of them. So Tiana Taylor won for the Golden Globes, and then we have Amy Mulligan who won for the Critics' Choice, and then Yomi Musaku who won for the BAFTAs. So big change there.
Great
Also,
recognition all around.
yes, we also had the supporting actor role has switched for all of them as well. So we had Stellan Skarsgård for the Critics' Choice, or excuse me, the Golden Globes. We had Jacob Elordi for Critics' Choice, and then we had Sean Penn win for the BAFTAs for supporting actor. Now, lead actor is something that has changed quite a bit. So, of course, as you guys know, the Golden Globes has lead actor for a drama, and then like lead actor for a comedy or musical. Lead actor for a drama for the Golden Globes went to the main character from The Secret Agent. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And then for a comedy went to Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme. The Critics' Choice went to Timothy Chalamet. But then, of course, like I just said, the BAFTA went to the I Swear actor. What I found literally insane was that Marty Supreme did not win a single BAFTA. It's cleared the BAFTAs with nothing. So I want to get your opinions on that or just kind of your thoughts on that.
It makes me wonder why they chose to release Marty Supreme so late. If that kind of fell into the trap of why they didn't get any
Mhm.
BAFTA award, because I feel like these people like, accumulate, think about these movies, a lot throughout the whole year,
Right.
and
Well,
that's,
which I mean, most of the critics for these get access to them a lot sooner than when they
yeah.
come out. But yeah, I don't know. I
So like,
literally texted Ava the other day and I was like, I'm seeing so much Marty Supreme stuff right now. I think it's gonna sweep in the Oscars. I think we were all wrong. Um,
yeah, I was getting a big push of Marty Supreme stuff all over my social media. Like all of a sudden, my algorithm like completely switched from
right,
Sinners because I just recently like rewatched Sinners. I feel like I got a lot of Sinners content because of that, and then it just had a really big switch to
right, Marty
so
Supreme.
much Marty Supreme.
And you know what? What I was thinking is that, Marty Supreme is centered very much around obviously this American ping pong player. So I wonder if maybe it just wasn't as big in,
Mm-hmm.
Great Britain and in the UK for it to be, you know, critically renowned for the BAFTAs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Couple other sweeps that we've seen is that Best Director, Paul Thomas Anderson has literally taken the cake. Same with the adapted screenplay has been one battle after another for
Mm-hmm.
all of those as well. And then yeah, music has gone to Sinners every single time too. So
Mm-hmm.
really, really happy for that one because
Mm-hmm.
I like we said last time, we
It'll be
want more
definitely,
winners.
yeah, it'll definitely be cool to see like what, especially after the Oscars, what like the comparison over all of them end up being. Um because I don't know. Marty Supreme cannot walk away without an Oscar.
Oh yeah,
And if they
there's
do, I'm gonna be shocked.
honestly, yeah. I think that I think that Marty Supreme is the type of movie that the Oscars loves, that the Oscars will
Yes.
definitely like put up on a pedestal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Especially with like how I don't know. I guess you could say like divisive one battle after another is. Um, I think that they'll do an extreme disservice if they don't give Sinners their flowers because like I really am really hoping Ryan Coogler wins director. Like
Me
that's
too.
all I ask. If I'm, if I get am picky about anything, it's that one because I think Ryan Coogler 100% deserves the award for best director for that film. So,
Yeah, I agree. Mhm.
all right, well guys, there was your little BAFTA recap. There was lots of lots of information there. So, as always, if you're keeping up with the award season, take your notes so you can keep track with us. And then come March 15th, we will have the greatest day in my life, the Oscars.
Okay, guys, so that's pretty much all we have for you guys for today. Make sure you subscribe, put on the post notifications, stay tuned to look at our Instagram, because we upload every Thursday at noon. But we love talking about the BAFTAs, the Substance, and Wuthering Heights with you guys today. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.